Hey guys, welcome back to another fun episode with another awesome guest. This is going to be Teresa from West 40 Market that is actually located in Ankeny here. And they have all kinds of fresh, homegrown, farm fresh meat options from around the state. They also have all kinds of local type of products that people make from around the state. And they really just feature a lot of really clean products, a lot of fresh products, a lot of locally made products. And I'm really excited to talk to her about why they went that way with their business profile, how you guys can find them if you want to try and purchase something from them, and just kind of get an insight for how they make that work and why. So I'm just really excited to have her on here. So stay tuned. It's going to be an awesome call. Guys, so this is Teresa from West 40 Market, and I'm really excited to have her on. They have a really cool and I think unique business that's actually local to me. So I'm going to go ahead and let her go ahead and introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much for having me, by the way. So my name is Teresa Davis and I own West 40 Market in Uptown Ankeny. So I guess a little, or maybe the short version of what we are. So we are basically a little farmer's market inside of a retail shop. Maybe the best way of describing it.
Yeah.
So I source everything that I have in the store direct from just a handful of Iowa farmers that raise it for us. So we have cuts of beef, pork, chicken, bison, lamb, turkey. Again, all raised right here in small farms in the state of Iowa. We butcher at a couple local lockers. We harvest every 2 weeks, bring it all back and stock the shelves. So it literally is like a little grocery store you can walk into and just kind of do your normal shopping for all your cuts of meat that you normally would get from a bigger store. And then we also have dozens of different local products in there to kind of help you complete your meals and complete your shopping. So we've got like sauces, rubs, honeys, flour, spices, oils, like kind of all of your essentials. And honestly, the biggest thing for me is kind of trying to make it as much of a one-stop shop for people so that they're able to source direct from the producer. They know exactly where it's coming from, how it's made, and then you're also just supporting a lot of Iowa businesses, which is really cool too. So
That is so awesome. I like the way that you put it, a little farmer's market inside a retail shop, and that's year round is
yep.
so cool. So, like, obviously, the next question that I had for you was like, how did it become a thing? Was it just an idea you guys created, or how did West 40 Market like become born?
Yeah, yep. So first and foremost, West 40 Market, West 40 comes from my parents' farm's name. So they own 40 acres west of town. And when my dad bought the land, that's what they named it. And so it started as a hobby farm. And this was when I was back in, middle school, high school. And they started raising cattle and kind of just selling it to friends and family. Um, Long story short, it morphed into people being like, it's really good. We really like it. We want individual cuts. So they kind of started to dabble in that just a little bit back in my hometown. I moved off obviously to college. I had a corporate job of 16 plus years. And so, I was not focused anything on doing anything with the farm. I thought it was great what they were doing up in their little hometown, but really had no desire to be a part of it. And we never really talked about it expanding either. However, we kind of started to about 4 years before the pandemic started to kind of talk through, gosh, I feel like this would be a really great market down in the Des Moines area for something like that. And my biggest push or my biggest thought, I think, was that there wasn't a place for people to walk in to access Iowa raised meats, unless you knew a farmer or unless you shopped at the farmer's market, which, in Iowa is a very limited amount of time every year. You didn't have access to that. You couldn't just walk into a grocery store and be like, I know exactly where this was raised. I know how it was raised, all of that. And so I was like, man, that would be so cool to have that down here. Like I kind of kept saying these people don't know what they're missing out on
Yeah.
because Iowa meat is just so fantastic. And it's raised right in our backyard. So why would we not have access to it, right? So I actually started selling at the Des Moines Farmers Market. And this was like it was unpaid. It was kind of just for my parents. I was like, this is a really great idea. I started just to kind of wheel and deal meat, to friends and take orders in the area. And I would do deliveries on my lunch break or like before and after work and all of that. But it just kind of slowly morphed into this idea of like, man, this would be so cool, like if I just had like a brick and mortar that people could walk into. So fast forward to obviously COVID, everything kind of shut down, things went crazy. We didn't have the farmers market anymore. And I was laid off of my corporate job of at that point in time, gosh, pushing 18 years. the job that I thought was just going to be my forever. And I was obviously a little bit scorned about it. But that for me was the push that I needed to do it. And, I think like any probably insane human being, I was like, well, I just got laid off and it's, the pandemic. I should probably just open up my own business because that sounded like a great idea. Um, and so that's what I did. I started scoping out a place to put it and honestly had no idea what I was doing. I had this little fire, this little dream that I was like, this would be a really cool thing, but I had nothing laid out. I had no plan of attack. I was just gonna kind of go for it. So it ended up working out in my favor, but
Yeah.
we
No,
just
that
went for it.
that's so cool. I have to say, like my business, I launched it in 2019, but I went full time with it in 2020. So, like, I can relate with you how COVID was like the push to just go with it.
Yeah. Yep.
Of course, I don't run a brick and mortar, so you're very daring, and I'm so excited that it worked out. I've been by the store so many times, but now like having talked to you, I'm really excited to go in because I didn't really realize what it was before.
Yeah.
So I guess like I see a lot of your products there, right? You said are, locally sourced. Everything is like Iowa raised, or is everything Iowa or is it just Midwest?
Everything is Iowa with the exception of there's a couple of sauces that we have that we carry that are out of state that a lot of like the competition barbecue guys use. And so we put those in the store, but otherwise 99.9% of everything in there. The meat 100% is all Iowa. So
That's
yeah.
so, where did you find bison in Iowa?
Well, I've made a lot of friends over the last 4 years. And I ask a lot of questions and I bug a lot of people, but yeah, there's a handful of there's the Bison Association, Farmers Association that you can kind of reach out to. But I honestly just started asking questions to people. And there's just a handful of bison farmers in the state of Iowa, and I've pretty much I think tapped out just about all of them because
So
it's such a big seller. But it's
yeah.
not easy to find. None of a lot of it isn't easy to find, and I found that going through the last 4 years. I started with just gosh, a couple of freezers. And I think I had like maybe two little shelves of like maybe 15 products total. And so it just kind of keeps, I feel like as I find stuff and get connected with people, like another idea comes or another product is put in front of me and I'm like, that would be a great idea or this would be a great idea. And so it's kind of just this snowball effect of making connections and just kind of growing and adding it. And a lot of the customers too with requesting stuff, if I get a lot of requests for something, it'll kind of start to get burning upstairs a little bit and I'll be like, all right, I'm going to find that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so it kind of just every day it seems to be something new and different, but
So stinking cool. Like the other day I saw your post about ground turkey and I enjoy ground turkey. I love a lot of ground beef too and all that, but it's hard to find like a quality ground turkey. Like you can find the organic one or whatever from Costco and it's like okay, but I love the fact that
yeah,
it's here,
yeah,
and I didn't even know that there was a turkey farmer here that would provide that. Like
yeah.
it's just so unique. And so I love that. Um, so I know like you wanted to really support Iowa and local made and that kind of thing. I know that, like when I was looking through some of your products and stuff that are available, a lot of them are organic or like naturally raised and things like that. Was there a big push to have focus on like the cleaner ingredient options or the cleaner meat options, or is that just kind of how it worked?
It's kind of how it worked, to be honest with you. And I have a lot of people that ask, is this organic? And it's not. None of it's certified organic. That's actually quite a process and a very expensive process to
Yes.
undertake. God bless those that are able to do that. But my biggest push and what I really want with my store is people just to know where their stuff comes from. And then I'm going to let them make the decision if that's something that they want to feed their family and put on the table. I'm not necessarily it has to be clean or it has to be a lot of the products, the shelf stable products, kind of just naturally are with some of these local businesses because they care about that and they're making them clean, and so then people see that and they really like it.
Mhm.
Um, but my biggest thing is just I just want you to know where it comes from, how it's raised or how it's grown, or the owners behind it and their story. And then I'm going to let you make the decision on what you want to do. But I think as long as I'm giving them options, and kind of putting it in front of them, they all seem a lot of customers seem to like it, so that's good. Yeah,
That's so cool. No, I love that. And I totally agree. There's so many like local producers that really put a lot of emphasis into creating the best product they possibly can. And that ends up with the push of the last few years, people wanting to genuinely be healthier.
yeah,
It's so awesome that it just works out that so many of those options in your store are just naturally quite of a clean option and a fresh option because you're restocking those shelves with new products, fresh meat. You said every 2 weeks, right?
Yep, it's a constant cycle. It really is. And so that's what I tell people. I mean, there's a lot of times, especially with the beef, because it moves so fast, steaks especially. But there's a lot of times we'll bring that back, and it was literally cut 2 days ago at the locker, and people are taking it home. And yes, it's frozen, so we bring everything back from the locker frozen. It has to be flash frozen at the locker just to lock in the freshness and from an inspection standpoint. Which is kind of a good deal because then you know exactly that as soon as that was packaged, it was instantly frozen. And then the next time it's thawed out at your home before you cook it. But yeah, so a lot of it, I call it freshly frozen is kind of my way of putting it to people. But and that was a little bit of a concept for people to, grasp when you're not used to that. You're used to, maybe just going into the big box store and kind of getting it out of the fresh meat counter. Frozen's a little bit different, but just to kind of make sure that you're giving yourself time to prepare. But once people get the hang of it and they kind of get on that schedule, it's like, yeah, that's perfect. So then they've got a couple things in their freezer and they can pull it out when they're ready to cook it, and away they go. So yeah.
So cool. So when it comes like summertime, right? And we have actual like fruits and vegetables, do you have that kind of stuff in your store too, just depending on seasonal, or do you kind of stick to like the honeys and the meats more so?
Yeah, we do. We've got there's a family here in Ankeny that actually raises lettuce, or grows lettuce. I'm not sure what the correct term there is. They raise lettuce in their backyard.
Yeah.
Um, a really good one, and they're at the farmers market too. And so we do have some fresh lettuce during the summertime. I really haven't gotten beyond that. I think it's tough in Iowa. We've talked about sourcing even from some Amish farms in southern Iowa, to maybe have some more fruits and things like that. It's tough with the waste and stuff, and honestly, from a capacity standpoint in the store, I'm kind of a little bit maxed out right now. It's hard to find space for that stuff, but I bring in fresh bread twice a week. Every Tuesday, Friday, we have bread drops from two local bakeries. So that's kind of a new thing in the last year that we've really gotten into the bread and kind of gotten a good cycle with that. And then there's a couple of local businesses that drop fresh stuff off. One of them is Sisters and Cheese up in Madrid.
Yeah.
And so they drop off like fresh grab and go salads and like little grazer boxes, like little snack packs that you can kind of take home and have. And they have like some dips and some other things. And so I kind of feel like, why I don't have a lot of fresh produce for people to pick over. I have local businesses bringing in options for at least people to take home and enjoy
Yeah.
from that standpoint. So that's
Yeah.
about as far as I've gotten with that.
No, hey, that's fair. I mean, and produce does go bad really, really fast, and that is part of the issue with everything. So, but really cool. I love that. I'm sincerely like looking forward to stopping by and probably spending way too much money there.
Yeah.
Um, but it's gonna be awesome. So obviously we already talked about like how you find companies or how companies find you, which is so cool. The networking world is amazing with that.
Yeah.
Um, so what are your top selling products? So like I see that you have different meat bundles, but then you have all these other things. Is it like the meat bundles that are your top sellers, or is it the other stuff, or a little bit of everything?
Yeah, that question is tough. I have people come in a lot, especially for their first time. They're always like, what's the best seller? And I'm like, where do you want, like, honestly, where do you want me to start? It depends on the time of year. I mean, we have a lot of things that are favorites, I think, of people. We have like these really great pork pizza patties that people love. We have a breakfast patty and a breakfast burrito brat is what it's called, that are always really, really popular. And honestly, the steaks go out the door faster than they come in sometimes. And we've got some really good beef sticks from Elma Locker that people really like, the flavoring and the stuff that they do for that. So it's hard to kind of say that there's a favorite. It depends on seasons, it depends on the week, it depends on what's going on in the world, and if it's football time or grilling time or whatever the case might be. But yeah, I think there's some that are, you see pretty consistent that people buy a lot of. Or maybe it's like their regular, when they come in to get their weekly menu items, they're always putting the same couple of things in their cart every time. But I really love it when people try something different. And so I try to have a nice variety of things, of like your staples that you want, all your ground meats and your steaks and your stew meats and your roasts and stuff like that. But I love having unique items on the shelf and encouraging people to try those. Like that for me is huge. And I love it when they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, those were amazing. Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the bundles. We do a weekly bundle that we switch out. We have a lot of different bundles that are on our website that you can get for different price variations, or different price points, but we do a weekly bundle that we switch out. And for me, that's trying to encourage people to just try something new. And you know that we usually have a price point of like $50 and under, and so I feel like people feel it's safe to try something new for some, you know, for that price. But usually there's like one or two items in the bundle that are always popular cuts, you know, that I'll put in there just to kind of lure people in, because then there's always like one or two that maybe are probably new for them, and it's encouraging them to try something different. So we like to do that a little bit, but
It's
yeah.
so cool. I love that. Yeah, I saw some of your bundles pop up the other day and I was like, well, that's smart. Like why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
No, that's fabulous. Um, what are your favorite products that you guys carry? Like maybe outside of the meat. Do you
Yeah,
have, or is that going to cause issues?
yeah, I know. It depends on the week. It really does. Like I feel like I get these little obsessions, you know, and then it's like for 1 week straight, I'm eating like focaccia bread every day because I just can't get enough of it. And then the next week it's something different. But man, our fresh breads that we get are just amazing. They're so good. And the stuff from Sisters and Cheese, you can't go wrong with that. Her tomato bisques or roasted red pepper, tomato or roasted red pepper bisque soup or something like that. I can't remember. It's like a tomato bisque soup, basically, is like fire. It's so dang good. And you know, we've got like the Tamia's dressing, the restaurant's new or their garlic parmesan dressing. I think majority of the population has waited 25 years for them to finally bottle that. So we rolled that out or they put that on the shelf in November, and we just sold like, I mean, dozens of cases between November and the end of December. It was absolutely crazy. So that's always like that's a staple in my fridge. A couple of the dressings are staples in my fridge. I usually always go home with a loaf of bread at least once a week. um, I will say like the roasts, I'm obsessed with roasts. It can be 95 degrees outside and I'll have a roast in the crock pot, but I just think they're so versatile, and I mean they're just fantastic. They make good leftovers, you know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I would say that those are probably like my staples, like always in the freezer, or the fridge at home. So but
Yeah. Oh, I'm the same way with roast. And my family gets tired of eating plain roast all the time. So like I chop it up into small pieces and use it as almost ground beef in different recipes too. Like it's very versatile.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm with you on roast. So if people are afraid of roast, go get a roast. You'll be fine. Just make it in the
You
crock
really
pot, cut it up,
should.
and then chop it and use it in different ways.
So easy that we've got a pork shoulder roast that I make a really, really good Hawaiian pulled pork from. And it literally is like four ingredients. You put it in the crock pot all day long. You shred it up when you get home, put it over a bed of rice, like super simple. So I feel like I tell people, I'm like, listen, if I can do this, if I can make this meal, you can definitely do it, because I'm not a cook by any means. I can follow a recipe, and that's kind of the extent of it. So you know, so I try to take stuff home and at least try it, you know, to give people ideas, so I can speak to that, you know, and be like, yeah, I've cooked this and this is how it cooks, you know, and
Yeah,
be able to talk about it. So yeah.
that's awesome. Okay, so I know you guys have the,
What I call that quality control. I have to
oh
try it.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to try. Okay, so I know that you have the website and you have pricing on your website and things like that. Is that for like local pickup only, or will you ship anything?
Yeah, so we ship nationwide, every single week. So all shipments will go out between Monday and Wednesday of every week, from any orders up until that point. But yeah, so you can shop on the website, to do local pickup. We do have a local delivery option. If you can't make it in or just want us to drop it off, we can certainly do that. And then you can choose to have it shipped nationwide too. And we do have so my parents own the little grocery store up in our hometown of Green, Iowa, and we do have some of our meats up there. But we have that option on the website too. So if people want to order something specific on the website, especially like the bundles, they have an option to get it delivered to Green to pick up there if they're up in the Green area too. So we do have that. But yeah, we ship all over the United States every single week. So which is
That's
pretty cool.
so awesome. Yeah, because my following due to all of my years of this is nationwide. So if they're wanting some, locally sourced Iowa goodness, then absolutely shop through West 40. Um, I will definitely put your website and your social media stuff in the notes so that way people can follow you and find the website. Um, I guess, and we're also going to do a giveaway that launches tomorrow after this is aired. So that's going to be fun. So be sure to participate in that in order to try and get entered to win a couple of things. But aside from that, do you have anything else that you want to share about the store or what you guys stand for or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, my biggest thing, and I touched on it earlier, is that I want people to know where their food comes from. I think they deserve that. And we try to stay as competitive as we can while it still makes sense. for everybody from a pricing standpoint. And so I think that that's the biggest thing too, is that we try to kind of bust those myths that buying direct from a farmer is significantly more expensive or for some people unattainable. And that's not true. There's actually, especially right now with the economy that we have, there's actually things that I have in the store that are, I want to say cheaper, but they're less expensive than the exact same stuff you'd find in the big box grocery store that you have absolutely no idea where it came from and how old it is. And we want to educate people. And like I said earlier, I want to give them options and be able to tell them where their food's coming from, but and then let them make that decision of what's best for them and their family. So we never want to tell people that we're better than somebody else. Because I think that that's up to the individual to choose where they're getting their food from and what works best for their family and their budget and their lifestyle. But I think more than anything, we just want to give them options, and we want to help them see that they can put really good food on the table for an affordable price. And they can have access to that. And I think especially here in the Midwest, you deserve that. It's all raised right here in your backyard. So why are we not all enjoying it?
Yes.
And we also, the middleman's not getting rich in this one at all. Many people that I'm like, this isn't what this is about. It's about making sure that those that are playing in this game with me are making a living off of this and are able to. And sometimes when you get into the big box stores and what those bigger producers are paying your farmers, it's just pennies to the pound, and it's not. It's for a lot of them. That's why you see farmers kind of small farms kind of dying around the country, because it's just not sustainable anymore. And we want to change that. We want to kind of make that shift and get people buying local again, and directly supporting their farmers versus passing their money through somebody else who's actually getting rich and has yachts all over the country.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I
I love
appreciate the platform and to be able to talk about it. It's a good thing, and we hope to just keep doing what we're doing. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm super excited to stop in myself, and then number of people throughout Iowa that work with me, but then all over the states. So it's going to be wonderful. Hopefully, we find some new people to help
yeah.
support throughout it and everything else. So thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get to the store, and we've got a million things to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll be in contact, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.